welcome to Run, Build, Grow, the podcast that laces up its running shoes and dives deep into the heartbeat of the communal spirit of running. I'm your host, Andrew Ware, and I'm thrilled to take you on this exhilarating journey where we explore stories that go beyond the pavement. And we have another great episode lined up for you today. But first, I am so sorry. Last week we did not have an episode. I know I'm sorry to let y'all down, but it was a rough week for me. I had this episode recorded, but I did not have it edited, and my bandwidth was at 0 to get it edited. But I am back this week. That is what matters. And I'm back with this awesome conversation with Joel Almonte of this group called Unforgiven. It's not a local-based group. It's an online-based group, and he talks about it and this amazing vision and mission they have. And this is a really fun episode because Joel is putting anything and everything he has into running, his whole spirit, all under this idea of if, and we'll talk about that. And so this is such a great conversation. I really wish I could have gotten it out to you last week because, just love getting these out when I record them. I want to get them out almost as soon as I record them, but I'm not able to do that. And so finally got it edited. And so let's dive into this conversation with Joel. Welcome in, everybody. This week, we're joined by Joel Almonte. Joel, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Andrew?
I'm doing well. So I had the pleasure of meeting Joel. I think it was, this last year at Shamrock?
It was, yeah.
With Ray, yeah. So I had the pleasure of meeting up with Joel, another one where send him a message, get him on, just because these stories are so amazing, friends, for us to be able to hear. So, Joel, let's introduce you to the folks. What is your community and what makes your community awesome?
So it's an interesting, it's an interesting question because my community stems from COVID and the online development that came from there. And from COVID, I went from being a solely individual runner, running for health, just trying to make sure I get my miles in. No time for socialization because the focus is just putting on and getting in the miles and seeing where it leads you. But there's that quote, you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And from there, thankfully, that social online community really grew and held each other together during the initial phases of quarantine. And so I have a team that kind of grew out of that, and we're nationwide. We sort of just were inspiring each other then. We were on the same journey, but wearing different sneakers, and here we are 4 years later, still like fighting the fight, tacking on miles and like sharing our journey. So yeah, it's my most personal running community are the people that I met online and have had the privilege of sharing some really wonderful experiences since then.
And y'all get together, but y'all have this community, these conversations. You run races together. Like I said, I met you when you were running with Ray, who a lot of the folks listening from the 757 know and love Ray and all this stuff. And so it's this group, Unforgiven. And as you look at it online, you really see, and through your story and journey, you really begin to see just the way that it's often not that physical community, but it's the even digital community. It's the connecting with people, doing things together. So can you unpack for us a little bit, what Unforgiven is? You talked about y'all coming together during the pandemic. What is this journey that unites all of you?
Awesome question. So personally, Unforgiven is named after what I felt was my most inspiring moment And it's a poem, If by Rudyard Kipling. If anyone's familiar with it, it ends with saying, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, then yours is the world and everything in it.
Mm.
And at that particular time, I was obese. I was 420 some odd pounds at that moment, looking for anything that would sort of like spark that drive for me to get out of where I was. And I knew I was better than where I was at that moment. I needed to heal. I needed to find a conduit. And I realized once I read that final stanza of that poem that I wasn't going to go anywhere unless I actually did something. I was waking up every day feeling really sad about where I was and my circumstances and like detesting the fact that I was waking up. What a gift we're given. And here I am angry that I was given another day with healthy vitals other than the fact that I'm crazy overweight. And I told myself, it's okay if you're going to feel sad about yourself for this entire day that you're awake, but you have to do something to see if it adds up to anything. And so it was a rally cry for myself. And for the following years after that, the 15 minutes a day I dedicated to walking turned into being healthy enough to start jogging, turned into, hey, let me enter my first 5K and so on and so forth. So the seeds that I planted, here comes this tree. And what was a motivating factor for me was training to enter into races. Okay, like if I had a race on my calendar, then I knew I couldn't be sloppy. Right, I needed to commit to doing my best, to sticking to a diet, or I hate using that word, but just making proper food choices, getting sleep, developing better habits, because I was happy with the direction that now this road was leading me on. Cut short to COVID. Now, this joy that I was getting in aiming for an experience, now I'm on this 50 state tour, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to knock all these states out, and boom, here comes this pause. And it's selfish to just pinpoint one particular era of a personal of my life when all this is going on. But what I found was that there were so many like me looking for that hitch to latch onto so we can motivate each other, stick together, something, so we can see the end of that road of what was happening at that time, right? So I don't know if you remember, but you had someone in your running community online said, hey, we're going to do 20 push-ups today. Right? And no, you know what? We're going to do 20 push-ups and we're going to add some jumping jacks. Okay. And so that was foreign to me at the time. Running was such an intimate experience that I didn't allow anyone in because it was just trying to lace up and get out. Okay. But to see that there were so many other people going through a similar experience, hey, we're bunkered down now. I'm feeling what you're feeling, but in my own way. We need to stay sharp right here. This is where we're at right now. We don't know where we're going, but we got to stay sharp. The race that you signed up for, that I signed up for, that just got canceled, that just got XYZ, and God knows everything else that was going on at the time. Forget about that right now. We're going to stay sharp. So when the time is ready, we're going to be ready. And from that, really awesome friendships. So that's where I met Ray. And I was like, hey, Ray, and once, you know Ray well. And Ray is why I bring Ray into mind here. is because he's a friend, a brother, but he's like a big brother. Like he's goals for me because of where his life took him as I got to know him, and how the road called to him, right? And I'm like, wait. Like, hey, Ray, you're in Virginia, I'm in New York. We're XYZ age apart from each other, but I know what you're going through. And he knew what I was going through, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. And sure enough, there were others that I met. And like, we have a pretty good team here if we want to start calling it that. Like there were folks that I connected to because I understood what a challenge it was for them to lace up where they were years ago and where they are now. I found inspiration and motivation when I hadn't found that, other than trying to just pick my own self up. Now I had people picking me up, and I wanted nothing more than to see if I could also be part of that community and say, hey, you know what? I can try to pick you up too, because y'all have done that for me in this time. So let's move forward. I'm going to throw this stone in the pond and see where it ripples out. And so, sure, the team came from a lot of the people I have a particular weight loss experience that the road called to me to stay healthy and called me to health. But there are folks in our community that are coming from a similar type of vibe, just a different pair of sneakers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that story of the pandemic really hits a lot of folks, and especially, we talk about the folks who found running during the pandemic. I want to say I've had, probably half a dozen of them on the podcast so far. But there's also that other side of the pandemic. There were those of us who had found running, knew running intimately before the pandemic, and were using it in ways that were therapeutic, that were healthy for our body. And we wanted to find ways to practice them that almost mimicked what happened, what happened before the pandemic. And so for you, what was it, what was that like for you to transition from maybe more of that in-person, meeting, getting together with folks, to that, digital, where granted, there is like a ton of space for that motivation to occur, for like that pump up to occur. But it definitely holds a different space than that in person. So what was it like for you to come into that space and, adapt, meet new folks in that space, and create sort of this digital, this online running community that now that you're kind of, we're past that, the worst of COVID, now you've been able to meet one another?
So you'll never let go of your inner child. And as months went on and we were gearing up, we were personally, I guess our community, as it was becoming more defined, we were starting to gear up for Chicago, and that was the first of the races that reopened, right? And before COVID, again, so the running community welcomed me. Okay, I was a stranger to this land, because for me, I felt it was such a personal and intimate experience that, well, I'll be frank, being 400 pounds, it didn't inspire a whole lot of confidence to say, yeah, I'm going to be that dude. Let's meet up for the 4 o'clock, the post PM running thing. And I didn't want, they're like, hey, you can do it. I didn't want that, because it was I hated that I was there. Okay. It was the running community that was exposed to me during COVID. The like, hey, this is out here. Okay. Like, I know what you're doing. I did it too, right? And like, and there's also this, and there's also that. So why I bring that into the equation is, it is once the running community started to welcome me in, is when I became aware of things like the world major.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was the, hey, 5Ks just to stay sharp. Just don't get sloppy on the health side. You get sloppy on the health side when you're not training for something. That was my mental thing. I didn't. For me, the drive to get out into the road diminished as the hours of the day went by. So if I didn't wake up and do it as soon as, if I didn't get up and run as soon as I woke up in the morning, the likelihood of it going down or my thoughts getting the better of me, they were just going to win. So I was unaware of a running community until they welcomed me, and I realized, like, hey, we can do something together. Okay, and when Ray and other guys, I'm going to mention Mike Alcade. There were other people in our community that introduced me into the world majors. Introduced me into the USATF and the Masters community, understanding really how to now become a better runner. Because here I am just entering races. I'm like, hey, dude, you know what? Awesome, you're here. You want to get better?
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, so like I can help you with that, but I'm cool with where you are. You know, like I understood now that existed, where it was like I wasn't welcome because you guys are worried about times and like what kind of sneakers you're wearing and the gear. I'm trying to just get out there. Right. So the running community welcomed me instead of like me really doing anything for the running community. All I am at that point was, I guess, someone that was doing administrative duties.
Yeah.
You know, you're awesome at what you're doing. Do you understand that from just what I've experienced thus far? Like, you're doing something incredible. This person is doing something incredible. You guys know each other. We know each other. Let's go, right? Let's team up. And so to reflect back on Chicago, that was that reverse tip for me, where I didn't go into COVID experiencing the get-togethers. COVID was, Chicago was my first get-together. So it was like the grandest parade ever. Here I am, finally running with folks, right? Like different, where I would just be some dude in the middle of my corral with my headphones on, just get through this, just get through this, just get through this. But now I'm going to a race and there are like 10 people that I can't wait to just see for the first time ever, right? Like let's just do that first. And it just magnified the race. I found a level of motivation that I had not experienced prior to COVID, right? So it did the unorthodox, I guess, for me, because I came in as raw as you can. And then once I hit that race and we're all wearing team gear and it's like we're on the same vibe, that was my first welcoming moment to the running community because I kept it so intimate prior to that.
And you talk a little bit about your weight journey and how you got to where you are today. And I think a lot of people kind of see into that and they hear where, you know, the intimacy being a lot about not feeling like you fit in. And so what we heard a little bit of what that felt like, but what did it feel like when the folks in that group, in that core, and even then more broadly, what did it feel like when they started welcoming you in, when they started making you a part of that community? You know, what was going on for you in that time?
So awesome, because I needed to find carrots at the end of sticks to chase. and they introduced additional carrots to me. So immediately I feel like I'm grateful. Okay. I'm sorry, I lost track. Could you revert back to what you wanted?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what did it feel like? What did it feel like when you found that community, when you found that space, when, you know, running didn't have to feel intimate. You felt like you were welcomed in there. You felt like you were part of something.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So great, because there's a term that runners use, the plateau.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whatever you're training for, whether it's the road, whether it's the gym and lifting, whatever it is, that sport, that thing, there's that plateau of growth. And that's where I had gone as far as I could have gone. I was unaware of that. Okay. I was receiving gnosis from my community that there was so much more in front of me if we went together. If this person now, I realized that we were on a road, we were reading the same book, we're choosing our own adventure, what have you. But we all started in a similar center here, right? That's kind of like how I viewed it at that point. Like the acceptance that I received from not being fast, but having experience and not allowing the pressures of what had gotten to so many. And I still was able to get to that point where I was now marking off another state on my journey, while someone else was this was their last world major. I'm like, oh my God, this is my state. This is your thing. I'm like, oh my God, yes. And like it got lost. Everything, like, boom, we're here. This is state, whatever for you. This is this thing for that. It's all the same.
Yeah.
There was that love, that energy. And I'm like, okay, this is it. Yeah. We're feeding off of each other. This is where I need to see where I'm pivoting.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
like, there was fog. I see a little bit of light. Here we go.
And it seems like it's driven by community achievement, right? It's not just about what Joel can do. It's not just about what Ray can do. It's not just about what Mike can do, but it's the collective thing, which I think is the amazing thing that can happen when we kind of live into that sense of community is, we have our own internal goals. Like, I'm sure you toe up those marathons, you're at those world majors, and you have, like I've talked about with several of our guests, you have like, I've got my ABC goals, but you also know that like lining up either next to you or one of the other corrals is another person that you have shared this journey with. So when you're doing that, it's something I love to ask, because like as we're interviewing today, Ashley's episode came out, and she's on her way to Berlin to run the Berlin Marathon.
Okay, awesome. Good luck.
Good luck, Ashley. But I often think, like, when we're running these like big races, what are we carrying with us? And it almost seems like when you're running these races, what you're carrying with you is like out with you on the course, because y'all are doing a lot of these races together. You have that community together. So what's that? I mean, like, I love that concept of a shared journey. You're up in New York, you got folks just all over, and you're doing this stuff kind of virtually right now, and then you come together for these races. For you, mentally, emotionally, how much does that mean? More so that y'all are getting together for the races, and that the training that's being shared, it's not necessarily the miles, but you're like conversation around the miles, but that you're getting to share like the joys of the accomplishments together in that.
Yeah. You know what? awesome. Great question, man. It's like when we get together, that whole thing, everything, the whole post to running with a community, I feel like we're all just fighting against the dying of the light.
Mm.
It's there. There's however we conceal that anger, that whatever, it's going to come out once they say go. And we're ready for it. You train for it individually, how you train for it individually. But the people that are there, everyone there.
Mm-hmm.
What got you there is what got you there. When you look back on it, I feel like it is the dying of the light. As I always refer to it, as we're fighting against that what told you that you couldn't, what you think you can't. And are you at your best? Did you peak because you stopped, or do you have just a little bit of juice left? I'm not sure if that encompassed it, but as you asked, I felt like that was it. That was the vibe.
No,
we're there.
And that's and I think that's the perfect encapsulation of going along this journey, because when we look at how COVID so negatively kind of impacted our experience of community in the time, you have a story of someone who created community probably in the midst of one of the most difficult times to do so. And in the unorthodox fashion that many of us might, not necessarily think of. And so what it looks like for digital communities to become sort of that in-person experience, because it's almost like the whole training process could like build into that one moment, right?
Yep.
And you talk about training for Chicago, and I just think like, man, I mean, however big the group is, but you got like 3-4 guys training just around the country, and you all just decide, hey, we're gonna do Chicago, and you all get together and you do Chicago. And the way I always talk about, every start line is actually the finish line.
Yes, awesome.
Crossing to cross the starting line is to finish something, right? It's to finish that training. It's to get to that point. And even more so, I love the perspective of for your all's start line to be the finish line of your training is that opportunity for you all to get to share that purpose, that vision, that community together.
Yep.
And so what does this look like for y'all? Because I mean, this is I mean, it's so like fun and enjoyable to imagine. I think so many listeners, we meet folks online. I mean, well, we met in person the first time, but we connected online. But I think at this point in time, most of my guests are ones that I'm meeting on Instagram, on Strava, on all these different places. And so now we're like creating these communities, and we meet at races.
Yep.
And so what's it looking like for y'all? What are y'all doing? Are y'all making weekends of this stuff? How are you celebrating this like chance to be in person together as a community?
You mean the team?
Yeah. When y'all are getting together, when y'all are doing these races together, I mean, what's that look like? Because you guys you're practicing this community. You're obviously in conversation, but now you get to be like in person. You get to see each other.
And so the best thing, my best answer for this question can only come from expressing to you what Ray did for me on that race day. Because Ray ran the half, okay? And I ran the full, right? Because it was a state for me. And, when you're out on the road and you're just trying to get through it, I was recovering from an injury, all this, that. And I have video of Ray at mile 25. I did not expect him to be there. He knows what I'm after because we're friends. Okay. I'm trying to just keep my head there. I know where I'm at. My body, we all know where your body is at that mileage. And I see Ray on the left, just like, just, you got it, dog. Fill the unforgiven minute. And I knew what that meant I'm sorry, I'm getting choked up because I knew what that race meant for him.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, if you're listening to this, good luck in Chicago. If this comes out before Chicago, whatever, the best of luck to you because he's kicking ass on the road. I knew what that race meant for Ray. On his journey, he knew what that meant for me. I didn't know he was tracking like that until that moment. And I was on gas. And just, you're just blind. You're blinders. Where's the finish line? Where is it? Because I need to get it. And here's my brother, some dude I met 4 years ago, like this, cheering me on a journey. I didn't even think he was tracking. I was so exhausted during the race. I knew what had happened. He's done. He's fine. He could have gone home, showered, this, that, whatever. Ray was there, waiting for me, cheering me on for that. Because little did I know up until that point, I felt like I was tracking everyone because I wanted to be a good captain. But I was surrounded by nothing but captains because they were tracking everybody. We were all in this together. You're doing this. Let's make this road wider, right? It was a narrow road when you started. Now, when I met someone else, the road got wider. And that's the community, right? Here I have Ray cheering me on like it's his race.
Yeah.
It's, and it's just like, I can't share it. I'll share it with you after this, but it was like, what are you doing here? And I know he edited it because I started cursing, right? he's like, how are you doing? I'm like, no, I'm not going to curse you, but I expressed myself, with how I was doing. But my goodness, this is the running community right there.
Well, and it takes us back to that Kipling poem and that idea of if, right? And what that looks like, and if I'm remembering the poem correctly, it's just a bunch of these just like if phrases. Yep. And thinking just all the way through it. If. And it seems like as you have built this journey, as you have come through, you have built your running experience on so many ifs, right? And the thing that when we look at ifs is ifs can go one way or another. And the fear is that if you do something, this can happen or this can happen. And when we approach life, even recognizing the ifs, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance running, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. When you think about something like that, the if that becomes impactful, it doesn't necessarily matter what the outcome is. Right? 100%. If I can make friends or if I can make community with these folks, if I can run a marathon, if I can do this, and what is it like to allow those ifs to define your journey? And what's it like? Because you talked about it, right? Ray could have gone home. Or because it's Shamrock. So we don't just leave Shamrock.
You do not leave Shamrock.
You don't just leave Shamrock.
You don't leave
but
Shamrock.
My mind often thinks that Ray had all of those ifs going through his mind. Like if I, or if I go and I meet Joel here. So what's it like for you to have guided your journey by those ifs? And what's it like to see those ifs then play out in your life? Like in those situations.
So the entirety of the poem resonates to me on as I grew, as I felt I was growing, both mentally healthy, because it was a mental therapy for me to get disciplined enough to keep on running. It was a spiritual growth for me to connect with myself, to know how I could become better to serve.
Mm-hmm.
It was a physical growth because in order for me to serve best, I needed to be in the best of physical health. Okay. So at just touching on that last bit, growing up where I grew up, I'm a son of immigrants. My world was the 5 boroughs of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I can tell you, I'm thankful for how this is spiraling out. But once I was made aware of the 50 state club or the 50 state journey by the running community, that's not something I found on my own, right? Like the running community blessed me with that information. The running community blessed me with the world majors and additional goals. The running community and Ray blessed me with his interview with Christ. I can't think of his name right now, but the man who's done the Grand Slams.
Okay.
So now the running community blessed me with like, hey, I could see the world if I just keep running, right? Because we have the 7 continents. We have the continents, the states, the majors. It is paradoxically playing itself out as long as I keep moving forward. Every race I enter takes me to another state, takes me to another country, takes me to another continent. I am better than I was a decade ago with healing, motivation, discipline, relationships with people, all because I decided that I'm going to at least start making health a priority when I just wanted to give up. I didn't want the headaches that the day brought. But here I am waking up and people are counting on you. People are counting on you.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't care where you think you are. I think that was a reality for me. You may think you know where you are, but people need you to get up to help. We need help with this. We need help with that. And I'm waking up every day. I'm like, you know what? Yep. Put me out in the field. I need to get, you helped me when I was nothing. I was fallen, looking for anything to just inspire me for the next day. And once the road and the health in the road, the health I found on the road gave clarity to additional things and additional things and additional things. Yeah, so like here I am filling my unforgiving minute, these minutes that I didn't want before. Right now I cherish because they're allowing me to see all these things that as an American, I was like growing up. So I'm getting ready for Memphis, the St. Jude Marathon. It'll be marathon state number 14. And I'm planning it with my friend right now. We're going to go down, we're going to go to Memphis, and we're going to go see the Grizzlies. They're going to be in town playing. And we're going to drive to Nashville. We're going to see the Titans. So here I am doing something that I couldn't, and not even my wildest dreams think that I could do. Now I'm tying in other parts of my life. I'm bringing in a friend who I'm finally getting, my best friend, I'm finally getting him to run a 5K. Like this entire journey, my blood brother, like, he's been the greatest supporter. And just because we're going this far out for his like birthday, whatever, I'm like, hey, if I go out and I run this now, you're running the 5K. Shirk on it, right? So it's bringing in someone else into this. It's now, hey, if you saw me get better, you don't need to get better like that, but you saw the joy that this brought. I want to just sprinkle a little bit of that joy with you. Just sign up for that 5K, get a little bit ready for it. It's going to be awesome. You're going to walk or run or do whatever through the streets of Memphis. What else what do you want? Like, that is awesome. Like, don't you want, like, the cops are going to just clear the road for you? Right? Like, here's your porta potties. You're going to get a bagel. Like, let's just go. And here you are seeing this marble.
And again, I like that the idea, it starts with the if. If I can take a minute, if I can take one step, if I can, impact the life of one individual, and, listeners, you hear just the waterfall effects of all of that and how it impacts each and everything going down, because we see like the ifs that Joel has gone through has led to the other folks continuing to live into those different ways as well. And so, you're looking towards Memphis. You're looking at, you've shouted it out. Ray's got Chicago. You got your buddy who's running the 5K, all these people. And so, what is this looking like for Joel? What is this looking like for the folks around Joel, for Unforgiven? Aside from the races, what's coming up? What are you looking towards as you continue to kind of not build the community in terms of people, but build the community in terms of like the impact you're having in one another's lives?
We have to keep pushing each other to that next step.
I'm
going to, so there, right? As you march along to stage one and you're there and something compels you to go to stage two, there's different wisdom that comes to you. Different wisdom inspires you. So here we are, and our ambitions are grand. Individual ambitions are grand. I am at state 14. I've got quite a ways to go. Okay. I've got still to cross the pond. Okay. I still have to go up north and see salmon. But first I have to cross off Memphis. Okay. And that's where we are. We motivate to that next step. Make it to breakfast, make it to lunch, make it to dinner. We're going to celebrate. We're going to eat like kings, queens, every time we stop and eat. But we must move forward. We must, the road has been paved by icons in this game. Whether you want to go into track, whether you want to go into the things that we're aiming for were set before us by people. We're not inventing anything. We're following in footsteps and combining our experiences from someone who was just looking to enter something that would keep him motivated in the 5K. Now he's thinking that he can go to the North Pole. And that was made aware to him by someone who knew someone who did that. And thus the chain. Ray's going to go to Chicago. Ray's going to kick ass. Excuse me.
You're good.
So, and I'm going to hug the crap out of Ray. We're going to celebrate. I hope he PRs. Ray, can't stop it. Talking about you. But after that, hey, Ray, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if he doesn't do that for me, then did we just peak? Because these minutes keep coming. So that's it. We're gonna just let it go. No, it's till you just can't.
And
right?
I think, and I think even beyond just the race, but like, to even think of one moment as sort of like the end, or to think of one moment as like the top of the mountain, like, I always think the folks who are climbing, Mount Everest or Mount whatever, like you get to the top and you're like, oh, cool, look how amazing it is. Well, what do you got to do next? You got to get down the mountain.
Yep.
And so it's not, and so it's always like, okay, well, it's like, what's next? Like, what's going to fill your next day? And for a lot of folks, what does that look like for them? Does it look like, all right, well, what's your next race? What's your next goal? Or even just like, what's the next thing you're going to do? And I think that a lot of folks get that because, I love that perspective because beyond running, it's such a great mental space for us to be in because you can have the best day in the world, but that day is going to lead into another day. Yep. And you need to think about, okay, well, what does this next day hold for me, right? So I get done with X race, for me, Richmond this fall. I get done with Richmond. What's next? Now, for me, I don't have a big problem with that because I got a half marathon the next weekend. So, but it's like, what's next? And it's not even necessarily what's the next race, but a lot of times I'm thinking like, all right, next is recovery. Like next, I need a couple of days. I need to ice my legs, but I'm also thinking further, right? I'm thinking, all right, what am I, especially as we get into the fall, what's my shamrock looking like next year? Who am I going to help somebody? Am I going to go for my own PR? What am I going to be doing? And so when we're thinking, in ahead like that, when we're looking at our lives and we're thinking about how we're going to fill that time, it's refreshing to always think that there's folks around us who can help us to consider that. And in ways that help us to really think beyond just what's happening. So Joel, let's hit these end of podcast questions. Man, what a great, I love this. I try and not make these episodes long for folks, but it's such great conversation. They could go on forever.
I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
But Joel, what is your favorite distance to run?
I know it's a marathon.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely. There's no, and that's where it is now.
Yeah.
And this is the test, the day I can go ultra.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at. The day we go 50, right? Let's go there. Cool. Let's hang out there.
Yeah.
Let's go to 100.
Nope.
Let's go to 100, right? Okay, so, oh my God, you get to 100. Awesome. Good for you. How's your swimming? Right? How's your
Friends,
bike
Joel's out here adding mileage, adding sports. I'm here like, as I get older, I'm like, all right, what's the next distance I can go down to? I'm at half marathon. I'm like, you know what? 10 milers seem great. 10 milers seem great. I'm gonna go from 10 milers. Then I'll be like, you know what? I think maybe that 10K looks really sweet.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? Like serious talk here. There is a place now. I'm grateful for the community again for being able to answer it this way. I become aware of a place that you could live. Right? I can't live in the marathon for long.
Yeah.
I've seen some amazing people do some amazing things as I've gone along in this journey. I'm like, hey, if God blesses me, oh my goodness, And sometimes God is blessing you by asking that person, how'd you get here? You know what I keep hearing? Diet, right? Diet, sleep. I keep hearing those same two answers wherever I go. Genetics play a part. Hey, that's fine, but you got to do your part. You can't be given a great set like of keys to a car, and then like if you just start messing around with the manual, you're gonna mess that up. You know, you have to do your part to keep that machine moving forward. Whatever your parts look like, okay, keep it moving forward.
Yeah,
but I don't love running. I love what running makes me feel like. And there's a perfect distance for everybody just to get that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel
which is why I love to ask that question, because it's so, I have always found joy in hearing, what is the race that you, or what's like the distance that you love to run, because to me, the question means so much in, where your spirit is, what's going on in your life. Again, like, and listeners know this, I have no aspirations to run marathons. And yet I find so much joy in people who love to run marathons. Like my co-leader, Mike Couch, who was on this podcast, he loves the marathon distance. He loves running marathons. And like seeing his joy when he runs a marathon, it's one of those things, like it reminds me of like me running half marathons and how much I love it. And because it's that infectious spirit of like, and it shows how much you love it. So, all right, Joel, what is your favorite thing to eat, drink, post run, post race, whatever it might be? Favorite food, snack, meal, drink? What are you going after?
So now that I've gone, oh my goodness, is this like, I hope it's not for work. I'm sorry, but so the, I guess the Shamrock.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the perfect post. That's emblematic of my vibe.
Yep.
You're ending up at the end of a beach. At the end of, there's a party going on, and there's like drafts going everywhere. That's it. Like, but yeah, there, you must celebrate. You must celebrate the things that you do with, I don't know. I feel like there's someone that I felt like was very wise in my journey, not with us anymore, said when they found that I was being too perfectionist in my approach, I was not okay with just being okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you know where you're coming from? Enjoy this. You just did that because you weren't even thinking that. You weren't even that person. So you must celebrate the journey because you gave up a lot to get to that starting line. Okay? That is the peace that I've made with myself. When it comes to food, when I'm visiting another state, it is my point to pinpoint what your state loves. So ending up at the beach, that's easy, right? Like here we are. It's all sorts of things that people like. That's perfect, a perfect ending. But I don't view my races in a different state just as the race. I kind of like really try my best to experience what the state has to offer in that proximity of like where the race is happening, typically in the city part, right? So when I went to Maine, I've never really tasted New England clam chowder. And so to get up there and do that and do like stouts, if we're being honest. So like, yes, I did it. Here, like I did that. I honored my health. I'm honoring my discipline. Right now, it's okay to toast. Like, you did it, dude. But don't stay here too long. Give your props. It's all good. Celebrate your medal. Hang it up on your wall. You did it. There's something else. Rest. Don't take too long, but rest and then move on, because don't live in what happened that long ago. You did it. That's awesome. But Al Bundy scored 4 touchdowns in one game in Polk High, and he ended up just, kind of just reminiscing about that instead of moving forward with like, hey, this is like that. I've always felt when I watch Married with Children and his reflection on like, hey, I did that. But so that turned into what?
Yeah.
It's awesome. Like if you stumble, it's okay if you stumble across the way, fine. Right here. But keep on going. Celebrate, keep on going. Train, earn it. There's the carrot, get the carrot, get a bigger stick, get a bigger carrot.
And finally, Joel, I mean, I feel like you've already given us so many reasons, but give our listeners one final reason to join a run club, a run group, to join a community.
Oh, so if you knew me best, this is one of the greatest challenges because I run, so I'm still stuck on that. Like I need to still lace up and go out. But I promise you, get over that. If you want to be better on all facets, good people run. Okay? Like they've fought dragons. This is not an easy sport. We're not doing this for money. We're paying a lot of money, actually.
Yeah.
We're paying a lot of money for this punishment, and we're coming back for it. Oh my God, how do they got us in this? And it's because we are learning something about ourselves every time we go to that start line. Every time we run those miles to get to that start line, we're learning something about us. So the people that are alongside you at that starting corral are part of a running club, most part. So what's happening is that you're absorbing things that you weren't aware of. There's motivation that you didn't think that was there. You never entertained. You're going to be better because the people around you in that community are there because they want to be better. There is nothing to gain there other than you trying to be better. So that person next to you, they don't care about your time. They care about you finishing because they're trying to do the same thing. Finish and then look at the numbers. If you're here, we're running, and you see like, hey, you got that full or you got the half bib, whatever it is, like, okay, I know you put in the work. You didn't just wake up. You didn't just wake up in one morning and like, here, hey, I got a t-shirt. No, because you're not gonna make it. Simple put. If you just signed up for this, you're not gonna make it. There was work put in. So the person that's there, the person in the running community, is fighting their own dragon, but you're all on the same road. It's just gotten so much broader because there's so many of us really fighting dragons. Right? We're there. There's something we're trying to push forward and see what's on the other side or elevate, whatever it is. We're boom. Now we're in this Royal Rumble, but no one's fighting against each other. It's like, here it comes. I got you. That clap that you see, like, come on, man, you all right? You see someone stretching on the side. Hey, man, you all right? And I feel like I don't want to bother someone's in their mental space. I don't want, unless I'm like bleeding, leave me alone, because there's a fight happening in here and I don't want you to get involved. And that's what it is for everyone. So, but when you see someone on the sideline say, hey, dog, you all right? Yeah. All right. Yo, you got this. Come on. And then rough. And so we're that's why you do it. You know, the saying goes, I started off telling you, like, if you want to go fast, go alone. I don't even think you can do that. I think if you really want to go fast also, like, you can go far with the running group, but if you also want to go fast, how is that going to get fast without joining a running group? Or participating with other people that have been training in a different way, introducing me to track workouts. What are you talking about? Like, I'm just trying to lace up. That's awesome. You can stay there. If you want to grow, someone has some information for you. And that's what the running community is.
And I think that, I mean, it's such an important part. And to even note that it's not just that one-time thing, right? It's not even just a race. You know, it can start out as that one-time, support and stuff like that, but that then sparks the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and it keeps them going. And to me, that is such the important part of just, what this podcast is, what any of the run communities that I'm a part of, what you're doing with Unforgiven is it's bringing that thought process into these things, because the support that's gained in those is just so great. So, Joel, I want to thank you so much for joining, for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for your time, for the forum, and for the conversation, first and foremost, because I don't like talking about, like, the mental journey, but little do we know, most of us are on there too.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Thank you, man.
I just love that story that Joel offers. And like I mentioned in the intro, and like we talked about in the episode itself, I mean, if only, you take one step, imagine what that step could lead to, and what it means for us to look at these challenges in life and think about how we can grow from them. Yes, these things are difficult. They're not always fun to go through. And if we look at them and we look through them as an opportunity to grow, and what it means that they do not become the end of our story. And just like Joel's story continued on, so too can ours. And this is the great thing. This is the great role even that community can play. And community, no matter where we can get it, right? We've talked a lot about that physical community, about those run clubs in our spaces. But here we have Joel, who has completely made a community online. And what a great thing it has been for us to be engaged in that space. And so what an amazing opportunity. What I appreciate so much Joel coming on, sharing that story. I've got some links in the podcast notes, just a couple of things for you to engage with Joel further, to see a little bit more about him, to find Unforgiven, and to see what awesome things this little small online community is doing. But as we go forth from here, I continue to always be looking for new guests. If you are interested, as always, let me know. Andrew at RunninRev.com. That's in those notes. I'm always looking for stories. I've got, some episodes and stuff lined up, but I always love inserting folks in there to share those stories, because just like Joel, there are amazing stories out there. And please, I'd love it if you would support the podcast. As always, make sure like and follow, leave a rating and review, Apple Podcasts, leave a comment on the episode on Spotify, however you can help. Make sure folks see it. And please, I'm doing this. I have this new goal over on Buy Me a Coffee. I'm trying to see if just this community can rally behind to help to support things in this podcast, help to support the hosting fees, help to maybe support some equipment upgrades. And I'd love to see if maybe this community can come around and help to make this show even better, even more than it already is. And so if you would please head on over buymeacoffee.com/RunninRev. Here's the cool thing about it. If you want to drop a tip, drop a tip. You love this episode, Joel really stands out to you, go ahead and drop a tip. One time, buy me a coffee, a beer, buy me 2 or 3, whatever you want to do. Or you can become a member and offer a monthly donation to help to keep this podcast going, or even a yearly donation to keep this podcast going as well. And so both of those options, friends, I sometimes have difficulty asking for support, and yet I just want to say I love bringing you this content each and every week. week. If you would be interested in supporting me, those are just some of the ways. But at the end of the day, we are all community together. We are all growing together. And let's continue on this journey as we grow together. And so as we leave this time, remember, make every mile count.